as I stated, we are going to start hearing Claudia, who is the Director of Partnerships and the co-founder of the Unplug Collaborative, which is this nonprofit that is trying to help people regain their sanity and quality of life and so on by coming to a better balance with our technology, the one that we at Intel, John, are pretty much to blame for in many ways. Claudia, your stage.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate getting to talk with you a little bit about what we do. I'm going to turn to a PowerPoint here and let's do that. Okay, are we seeing the right screen?
I'm seeing the non-slideshow screen.
No, we don't want that. Hold on. Just a minute. You can tell I'm not from Intel, see? Okay. All right. Is that better?
Much better.
Perfect. Wonderful. Okay. All right. So this says taming info overload, but that's really a bit presumptuous that we could really do that. But we like to say that we're helping with it. And oops, hold on a minute. Somehow I did not do this quite right. Just a minute here.
What is the problem?
Well, I don't know, but it didn't go when I told it to move to the next slide. Okay.
There you go.
That is my adorable little boy. Everybody always wants to know why you're doing what you're doing. And for me, partly it's because I have a background in public health and I've raised kids through all this. My kids are grown now, but I saw, directly what a challenge it was to raise them with technology. And so I wanted to do something about it. But ultimately here, this is my son when he was just maybe about 2 years old. And we captured a picture of him getting on our big clunky screen. And he took to it right away. He was just kind of a natural. And we were, amazed at how wonderful he was going to be and the next Bill Gates and all of that. And there really wasn't any talk about, having to worry about screen dependency and things like that. So at any rate, he was great with technology. But like a lot of people, I had these kinds of struggles all the time. I could not get him off of it. Everything that I wanted him to do could never compare with all the fun, exciting games. So we had definitely our struggles. And I will say now he's doing a lot better. He's graduated from college, gainfully employed, yay. But he does say that he feels like he missed out on quite a bit because he had other interests like music, and he's kind of trying to catch up now and make up for it. But it was a real challenge. Also had my niece who struggled a lot with mental health issues, exacerbated dramatically by social media. So I've kind of seen the gamut. And then, even a challenge for my husband and I, he's got his own firm and feels like he needs to be on 24/7 and has really been working hard to be a little more mindful and have times off of his technology when we can connect. But it's definitely been a challenge. And for my health, I've got tech neck and I would definitely get anxious and things of that nature from too much time on technology. So I kind of saw it all the way around. I saw it with people around me, and I was concerned that there wasn't any public health funding going to this problem. So at any rate, I feel like that's about to turn. We're going to start seeing some things happen. But ultimately, this is not new for any of you all. There's a lot of competition for our attention every single day. And no matter how many new apps and things come out, one thing that doesn't change is there's still only 24 hours every single day. So I used to get really irritated when I see a lot of people sitting around a table like this all checked out. And now I just know they're just being marketed to perfectly with, curated feed and the apps that know exactly what they want to see. And it's overwhelming to manage it. So ultimately, technology's kind of become a pacifier, and we are at times working and entertaining ourselves a little bit to death. maybe that's dramatic, but for some people, it seems to be accurate. So what do we do with the Unplug Collaborative? Well, we like to say we kind of help people get the bug to unplug. We're not anti-tech. We enjoy our tech. We use it every day. We would not be able to do what we do without it, but we definitely try to help people with the balance. We are a nonprofit, 501c3, and we formed this Unplug Collaborative in the heart of the pandemic during 2019. And this originally was part of a project run by Reboot, which was for Jewish families, and they created these tech-free Shabbat dinners in the Bay Area. And it started out as just a few of these, and then grew and turned into thousands of worldwide community partners and organizations that would hold these unplugged events year after year. It got so big that they were looking for someone else to take it on and make it sustainable. So that's when we jumped in and took it over. But since 2009, it's estimated that 140,000 people have participated from 12 countries. We don't have good numbers like I wish we did, but we're hoping to get there. But that's part of our info overload. So Global Day of Unplugging, we did change the name this last year. It had been National Day of Unplugging, but since we had so many people participating outside of the US, that made more sense. So we made the change. It is always the first weekend in March. And Kim Cavallo, she's the executive director, and we formed this nonprofit, and we kind of brought together some of our projects and initiatives. And Unplug for a Cause is hers. She created this through her Lil Space app. And it's pretty cool because it's an app that gamifies time spent away from devices. So turning tables on the reward system. I'll tell you a little bit more about her Unplug for a Cause in a bit. And then the thing I brought to the table was Unplugged Village. This is, aside from the Global Day of Unplugging, the other 364 days a year, we help people break ground on an unplugged village in their community. And essentially, we're looking for those people that are leaders and that are motivated to bring people together in their community to offer different unplugged events and activities. So if they do something more than just celebrating Global Day of Unplugging and they want to go the extra mile, they would start an Unplugged Village. And we've got, I believe, around 40 or so that have started those in the US. So in regards to how does info overload impact us and our programs, it's got a huge impact on the work we do. It really is a big part of why I think a lot of people don't open emails anymore, because there are just too many. So we have a hard time getting people to open our emails. Also, social media is tough. But I talk about that more in a minute, but we have less people kind of jumping up to volunteer for things. Back in the day, I was one of those uber, excited parents who got involved and did everything that I could with my kids. I have learned it has changed dramatically, and it's not that people are lazy, it's that they feel completely overwhelmed. So we have a challenge getting people to volunteer. Surveys are tough. Again, everyone's over solicited. So you can even dangle a lovely little, incentive and a carrot and have a hard time getting people to take a survey these days. So that's a challenge. It's also hard for us to sort through all the numbers and follows that we get on social media. And we are on social media, ironic as that might be, but this is an awareness campaign. We don't discard that as a great way to try and reach people, but we often only way we'll find out if people are doing something for the day is through social media and those hashtags. And we have like 15,000 of them to go through. So that's a challenge. It's also tough to do education. And when I'm not doing coordinating the programs, I do go out and give presentations and do Zoom talks for corporate programs and for schools and things like that. But it's really tough now to talk to people because nobody wants to be the bearer of bad news. I don't want to be it. media doesn't want to be the bearer of bad news. So they took a hit during the pandemic, telling everybody to get vaccinated and to wear masks. And so now, trust in the media is at an all-time low. So people I'm finding are tuning out when they see words like algorithm. I'm like, this is exciting news. And they're not, they're not ready to hear a lot. So that can be a challenge. I think the other thing that's kind of ironic is that we ourselves have become part of this attention economy because we're sitting here trying to get everyone's attention. I think our program's important. I think it's so great. If you sat and listened to a talk, you would understand more about why you have info overload, but it's just getting people to even, come through the door. Funding is also complicated because we need to have sponsors who see the value in partnering with us and just kind of riding the Global Day of Unplugging wave, rather than expecting they're going to get somebody who has lots of followers, lots of comments. We tend to find that people don't comment. They may follow and watch, but they don't want to comment because they don't want to be seen as being on their technology too much. So it's kind of funny. And then the algorithm doesn't exactly favor unplugged programs. Here is a perfect example of that. I don't know if anybody saw this. It was a couple of weeks ago. There was a great example of a deep fake where they did a spoof of the Office show, and it was with Ron DeSantis instead of Michael Scott. And it was funny, but it was a really good example to kind of show how good the technology is already, and it's only going to get better. And I got 1 like on that. And I did this test that I typically do every once in a while, where I'll send something out like that, and then I'll put puppies in the middle. And then at the end, I'll post something else. And that was about how AI is about to make social media more toxic. This was an article by Jonathan Haidt and Eric Schmidt. I got no likes, no pickups of the story before and after. And I have often found when it comes to a battle of, an AI story versus puppies, the puppies are going to win every time. I can look at my husband's and several other people's phones, have them look and see, did they see any of these stories? And they invariably only have the puppies showing up. So it's really challenging to promote a program when, in fact, we're not exactly in the algorithm's favor. So, but we keep working on it. So normally I would talk about all these different areas, but we're not today getting into, increasing awareness, how tech's designed, taking an inventory of where you're at with your skill set and your tech use, and then setting goals, reducing distractions. We're going to just kind of dive into replacement activities. That's a lot of what we do with Global Day of Unplugging and the other activities. So this is some of the representatives from last year that we had across the globe. So we have Trent from Cyber Safety Program in Australia in the upper left. He had 19 schools representing 14,000 students that took the challenge to unplug, which was awesome. You have Matthew from Minerful in the UK next to him. They did some family-friendly events. And then we have the fun and lively Nini from Bali on the top right there. She has her iConnect game, and she had like a pancake breakfast get together. On the bottom left is Ileana. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I know you're aware of her. I think you guys have met her before. And along with Tim from Unplugged Technology, and they did a series of digital wellness talks that were leading up to Global Day of Unplugging, and then they had an unplugged dinner. And then we got Mario from Switzerland. He did an event at a bookstore. And then this was from Stolp in Belgium at the bottom right. And he did like a roving reporter kind of thing, man on the street, because we do, again, love it when people use their technology to get people to be aware. And he would ask people, how much time do you think you spend online? And would encourage them to figure out where they can find that information, because a lot of people amazingly still don't know. So those are just some of the people across the globe. Here back in the States, we had a Home Depot workshop. And if you're not familiar with them, it's like a home improvement shop And they do these free workshops first Saturday of the month, very conveniently falls the same day that we do our Global Day of Unplugging. So they would have families come in. They made a little pinball machine together. Kids decorated knapsacks and they had a nice day connecting. That was Staten Island. Here in San Diego, where I'm from, we've had a little number of years that Unplugged Village has been growing here. So for Global Day of Unplugging, we started out with a proclamation from the mayor. That was really nice because that sets the tone for, leadership saying this would be an important day. It gets a little media attention, that kind of thing. We had schools, like a middle school here that had a poster competition, and they got really creative in showing, how you could unplug or what it means to them. Those were posted in windows in stores around the downtown area. We had several nature hikes and outdoor events. Then we also had this indoor sound bath down in Pacific Beach, which was amazing. And we had scavenger hunts because I love scavenger hunts, anything that's fun and gets people thinking. This one I played with the forget chat GPT, come chat for real and find me, because that was kind of the big thing in the news at the time. And kids would go look for clues to see if they could find Rocky Raccoon. This was hosted at a winery in Escondido. This was another scavenger hunt in La Mesa where they would find all these nocturnal creatures, and there were clues in, I think, 12 different stores. This is great for business. This is good for people getting them out. And if the kids would go around with this sheet and answer the questions, then they could turn it in and get prizes, which we collected from different businesses. Schools, we really have been increasing our participation from schools and hope to get even more. We've got all these free downloads on the website, so they can have a tech trivia crossword puzzle. Again, they can color knapsacks if they are interested in being able to customize their little their smartphone knapsack. They could decorate kindness rocks, make a kindness rocks garden. We love it when the district level participation happens. We had that at Roanoke, which is in Virginia, where the superintendent asked all schools in the district to celebrate Global Day of Unplugging. Many of them took him up on this, accepted the challenge. They had awards for greatest participation. This one here is Santa Monica. This is actually last month for Mental Health Awareness Month. And there they had, I think, 3 schools that got involved from elementary to high school, and they had a big health fair, and people would go around and do different activities. So we're really looking to see more of that happening in the future. Then this is from High Tech Middle. They had an entire semester dedicated to the topic of screen time and becoming more aware about their screen time. They did a play, they had a back to school night where parents came and they did all kinds of activities like writing letters. And the most powerful one that I saw was where they had like 100 kids wrote poems about their relationship with screens. This one's from Daphne. Says we connect through the screen, yet not in real. We're dependent on our screens so much that we can't eat our meal. And we love our screens so much that our eyes are sore, but we say, never mind, I just want some more. We're in an abyss that we can't get out, yet we stay up until 2 a.m. to make videos for clout. They were like that. It was really moving and interesting to see how many of them were aware of this issue in their life, but felt very much like they needed to be on there because that's how they stay connected, but they struggled with it. We have had a fair number of restaurants get involved and become an Unplugged Village or celebrate Global Day of Unplugging. This is a very cool coffee shop, a very busy coffee shop. I'm finding coffee shops are like the meeting place for people to go and find that community connection that they are really longing for. This is one called Public Square, and they have a laptop free area on several tables. And since it's really busy, it's kind of a very valued thing to get one of these spots. This is Corridor Flow in Lomita, which is west of LA. And basically they posted a prompt. What would a day of unplugging from our devices look like to you? They did this a week or two leading up to Global Day of Unplugging, and then they had the window filled with people's responses. Really lovely, meaningful ways of talking about their intentions for the day. And then for the actual day, they did quite a few things. They did live music, they had crafting, and then they really did some fun stuff for the kids. And this was having a stuffed animal sleepover party. And so Friday night, people could come and the kids would drop off, check in their animal for the slumber party. It wasn't for the kids, but their animals would stay. And then they, took pictures after hours of the animals getting into shenanigans. And the next morning they would come in and have a pajama story time and be reunited. And they could kind of see all the fun stuff that happened. So some other fun things to do, we always say try to unplug in a group if you can, because it's all about building that support system, and you're going to be more successful that way. You're going to feel not so alone, and definitely to try and make it fun. Laughter increases the, release of endorphins in the brain. So you're kind of able to try and replace some of the dopamine hit that you get from your social media and your tech use. So I like all of these: comedy night, bunco, poker, trivia night, escape rooms. They're all generally incompatible with phone use. So it makes it really easy to have an event doing these. A lot of the comedians don't want you to tape their shtick. They want to make sure they are the first ones to release it. So we've got some different ideas there of ways to make these kinds of events happen on our website. And then we do have technology as some of the solutions for our tech overuse. And one of them is here. We partnered with Opal, which is an app by Kenneth Schlenker, who I believe he's in France. And this was done so that people could come to this event in New York City. And it was for a SoundMind Live event. This was about a month ago. And they had live music in the parking lot, and then also inside they had a sound bath, they had yoga, meditation, and before people would check in for each session, they could come in and scan the app, and that would block the distracting apps. And if they were willing to do this for 30 minutes, we would have 3 pairs of socks donated to homeless shelters. And that's how the Unplug for a Cause works. And we found it's quite different now than 3 or 5 years ago when we would ask people, here, put your phone in this little knapsack or unplug. It was really met with hesitancy, but this time people were like, I love it, give it to me. This is exactly what I need. And I myself am generally not always a person who likes tech solutions for tech problems, but I have to say, I love the Opal app, use it all the time. And it's really made a big difference for me in how much I've been able to kind of block the distracting apps and really get more focused at work. So I'm a big fan now. I think they're great. We do have a paper option for those that want to go old school with this unplug-a-thon kind of thing. And this also shows we have our premier sponsor for this last year was BioTrue, which is from Bausch & Lomb, and they gave us eye drops to hand out. So we put their logo on the bags, and this is just a way that you can be engaged and support our program. So we are a super small but mighty board of 3, and we work tirelessly at this. Kim and I do, and we have a team of advisors who help spread awareness as well, but we really, really count on the leaders in a community to kind of make the magic happen. And luckily, there are people rising to the top who are super passionate, like Dr. Nidhi Gupta. She is pictured here in the red. She is a pediatric endocrinologist, and she sees the very real effects of excessive screen time with, young kids coming in severely overweight, having all kinds of health issues. much earlier than they should, and they spend a lot of time on their technology. So she has just started Unplugged Village in Nashville, and we just did a beach art demo here when she visited, and she is planning to do an unplugged dining night for families next month, and she's going to come here to partner with myself for a digital well-being retreat for families that we have going in August. So we're looking for more people to kind of spearhead things in their neighborhood like she is doing. So what can you do? You can build your Unplugged Village. You can get involved with Global Day of Unplugging. If you live somewhere where you can have a community block party, I'm doing one on Sunday. This is really great. We need to get our communities back out of the house and in the habit of talking to each other, so neighbors aren't just fighting on Facebook, but they're actually getting engaged with each other. So if you don't have a place to do a block party, you can gather at a public space, and you can add a hands-on activity like this one, where you decorate lanterns. You can add nice inspirational words on there. They can decorate. I love this activity because it's great for all ages. I find the littlest kids can do it with help of a parent. Dads like helping their kids. Moms, grandmas, and even the teenagers love to do this and come out in droves. So I know when we get the teens that we've got something that's pretty fun and interesting to do, because they are tough. So it's nice to hang them up at the end of the evening, and it's very personal and a nice inspirational thing to do. And we've got all the templates on how to do this on our website, so you can make it really easy. So here are just some of the famous faces that have unplugged with us. This is really helpful because as you can see, I mentioned that it can be challenging for us to kind of get a lot of big momentum given the obstacles we have with info overload, but this helps because they have a big following, and then people learn that, oh, it is really actually cool to take some time to unplug. So we have Tiffany Amber Thiessen on the bottom left there. She's done this a couple of years in a row with her family. We have Kristen Bell on the bottom right. She did a live Instagram live with this 13-year-old crocheting aficionado, and the people on the top all created these squares as well. And we could basically crochet a square that would spell out welcome home, and these were then strung up to make a nice little banner that were given to people that were transitioning out of homelessness into their first apartment. So we had Hillary Swank and Mariska Hargitay, and then Mayim Bialik, she's in the white hoodie there. She's from Big Bang Theory. She's done quite a bit for us to encourage people to really think about unplugging for their mental health. That's kind of her big thing. So that's kind of it. I may have gone a little over because of my tech difficulties in the beginning, but I am open to questions here, and you can contact me. If you're inspired and want to get involved, we can tell you how to do that. Again, we do, the way we support the campaign is through sponsorship, donors, and membership programs. We always have a free membership for people level as well, but we certainly encourage people to do a paid membership. You'll get the little knapsacks. Depending on where you live, if you're international, we don't ship, but we could work that into it somehow. And yeah, I'm open to talk to you about anything relating to this that you're interested in. I will stop sharing.
You did. Thank you very much, Claudia. This was interesting, and it's inspiring to see all these different angles of doing all these cool things that you're doing.
Yeah.
So questions, audience. Marty.
I'm sorry, Claudia, for coming in late, but I had to drop our granddaughter off for the first day of camp. But I do have a question about getting someone who's a teenager or maybe 6 or 8 years old into Unplug. Is it feasible to say to them, well, you're just going to unplug for 2 hours and then give them 15 minutes, or does that break the whole idea of Unplug?
Okay, do you just mean in general or for like the Global Day of Unplugging?
Well, the Global Day, or if indeed a family wanted to adopt, say on a Saturday or Sunday unplugging, when you have a younger child, they may not be able to do this for say 24 hours,
For
but
sure.
to just give them a segment of 3 hours or 5 hours to try and get them involved in this.
Yeah, good question. So we, people always ask, do you have to unplug for the full 24 hours? And we absolutely say no. This is really more about what works for you, and everything's different for every family, and it needs to be a positive experience. And really the day is more about just kind of taking stock in your tech time and what do you think you need to work on or want to work on. And we have people unplugging for an hour and just making it a symbolic thing that's very fun for an hour. And that's what they do. And some people are, let's do the whole 24 hours, and they do a nice challenge. That's great too. You certainly will get a bigger effect, but you may have a really resistant teenager. I would not go that route. I focus less personally on the time and more about what are you doing instead of. I don't think people need to spend as much time thinking of it as a penalty or a negative thing. But if you find something that they would find kind of interesting and fun and go do that thing, you're going to have more success next time. So like if you're somewhere where there are escape rooms, those are kind of a cool thing for teens to do. And if you don't know what those are, you go in and there are all these challenges, and I haven't heard of one where you're allowed to have your phone. So it's already part of the system that you're not allowed to have it. And then you work together as a team to solve the challenges to get out of the room. That's a lot of fun, definitely appeals to the teenagers. If you don't live where there is the opportunity for an escape room, there's a thing called ice blocking. Last time I suggested this, I was speaking to the Canadian Department of Defense in winter. I don't even know what I was thinking, but I'm like, okay, I'm from Iowa originally. I know better, but I forgot for a minute because I'm in California. I'm like, okay, so maybe not for you, but if you live somewhere else and you have a great big hill, a grassy hill, and you get a big ice block from the grocery store, this is like a $5 activity you can do. And you get an old rag and you sit on it and you slide down the hill like you're sledding. And we do it in the summertime, wintertime here because we don't get snow. And I have found invariably little kids and teenagers love this. And we always find some like 19, 20-year-old kids that spot us doing this and go, what is that? And then they run to the store and they get the ice blocks and then they're doing it. And it's fun. And they're not sitting there thinking about, oh, I wish I was on my phone. They're just having fun. So I think that's really key, is to make sure whatever you're doing is an enjoyable time. And then maybe you can take stock later that, oh, that was good. Maybe let's try something else. Let's go bowling. You know, a lot of kids are into the retro vintage things. Bird watching now apparently is a big thing that teens discovered during the pandemic. Like birds didn't exist before the pandemic. And now they're all the rage. So hopefully that answers your question there.
Oh, very much so. It's fun and creativity is really the answer.
Yeah. I definitely think getting away from, if you spend an hour off your technology doing something else, then you'll get it back. I stay away from those conversations because all you're doing is rewarding them or reinforcing that this thing that's already super rewarding is going to be what they want to get back to. And what you don't want to do, and what a lot of parents unfortunately do find themselves doing with good intention, is telling your kids, if you clean your room, do your homework, and play with your little sister, then you can have 2 hours of gaming time. Yeah, right. And what you've done is you have put playing with your little sister in there with doing chores and homework, which are things maybe they not crazy about. And so then they don't even want to do that anymore. And it's seen as a negative just so that they can get back to earning their time. It's really challenging. And I know a lot of people do use it as the carrot, screen time as the carrot, and you're going to do it, but try not to do it all the time. Try not to always use it as the carrot.
Of course, yeah. This reminds me of the no email day thing that they did in that company in Atlanta. And everybody hears that and say, oh my God, we can't do no email all day and so on. That wasn't the idea. The idea was on that day, which would be a Friday, to focus on talking to people instead of sending emails. So if you have to send email, go ahead and do that. But if there's an option to talk to the person, prefer that to the email. And that was exactly what you're saying, is not go all the way in a complete edict that you can't break. Instead, emphasize the good stuff. And actually that worked for them extremely well.
Yeah. Yep. I bet it did.
Very well. Well, other questions here?
I would just make a follow-on comment to yours, Nathan. This goes way back when Citibank in New York introduced ATMs. They wanted to reduce costs, naturally, and there was a fee for going to a teller. Well, the people revolted. They said, no, 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 we want to have that personal interaction. And finally, Citibank said, okay, we're going to waive the fees and go into a teller.
And here we are today.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Very well. Well, thank you again, Claudia, for joining us and telling us about this initiative. And we wish you every luck. And come next International Day of Unplugging, which is March what?
Global Day of Unplugging will be March 1st from sundown to March 2nd. But you can, again, depending on what you do or how far you're wanting to go, you can celebrate it early. If you are somebody who goes out and gives talks, digital wellness talks or something, do that earlier. And then at that time, encourage people to go home and celebrate the day with their family or their friends or whatever. So
Right.
any
Well,
number of ways to do it. And if you want to get somebody involved or create an Unplugged Village, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you about that, or check out our website. I'm supposed to say that. Unplugcollaborative.org, and there's no GED, it's just unplugcollaborative.org.
Great.
touch towards
Thank you
March.
very much.
You're
Well,
welcome.
thanks, everybody.
Okay, yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Very
Thanks for setting it
interesting.
up, Nathan.